Hello nerds. All right, so this comes from the most recent stream, live stream on Generally Nerdy. There were a couple of technical issues that I didn't know about until post. Thankfully, my recording process has allowed me to go back and re-edit so that you can hear all of the things that are going on. So that's what we're doing. I've since fixed some of the things. If you see anything else, definitely let me know in the comments. But without any further ado, let's get into this clip.
Go to Sean W, and see if we can. Yeah, so we're talking Sean W. So more video game rumor stuff. Talking about the stuff about Halo and what's coming down the pike for the series and the franchise. And this is the guy that actually broke a really big rumor in the community, and that is that the Battle Royale that has yet to be officially announced by 343 Industries is in fact been pushed back. That pushback has been due to them changing engines. So originally we were supposed to, according to all of the rumors, we were supposed to be able to access Battle Royale from inside Halo Infinite because they were going to be both on the same engine. That was supposedly going to be easy. So Sean has sources inside of 343, it sounds like, or very close to 343 somehow. I don't think he means in a physical respect. I think he means like actually know people at 343 if they're not 343 employees themselves. And he was told months ago that we should be seeing the Battle Royale announced sometime in 2023 for release at the end of 2023, which would put us approximately a year after the open beta starts for Halo Forge, which is kind of just barely enough to keep this game afloat. Well, he talked about a week or two ago about the fact that that Battle Royale that he was told about is now been pushed back because they are leaving the slip space engine behind. We covered this in the most recent episode proper's rumor section, so that's not necessarily new, but he gets into a little bit more detail as to why he believes that, and also some of the other surrounding rumors as far as specifically Halo the Endless, what that is, because he believes it is a brand new Halo game. And so we're going to get into this real quick. I think it's all front loaded for Halo Endless.
Hey guys, so I'm expecting online entertainment in the nature of computer game tournament.
Okay, so here he's talking about, this is the trademark for Halo the Endless. This is the things included in the trademark. So what he's talking about very specifically is, and we can go back where he's got it highlighted.
Say things like on.
Right there, online entertainment in the nature of computer game tournaments, conducting online contests, arranging and conducting components via the internet in the field of video games, organizing sporting events, competitions, and sporting tournaments. So it's talking about new multiplayer elements as it pertains to this trademark. Also, it talks about here up in the goods and services part, it talks about downloadable game software, computer game software, video games. These are all keywords. These are all to cover their asses. So oftentimes trademarks are filed, and this, I don't think that's exactly the situation here, but we're going to get into that. So oftentimes trademarks are filed so that somebody else can't trademark a thing before the company who's actually making that thing can get the thing made, right? So if I'm making a game, and we're going to call it Horns because Halo and Horns, right? So if I'm making a game called Horns and it's a multiplayer game and it has some brand new multiplayer option that's going to be groundbreaking, and I don't file the trademark for whatever this groundbreaking thing is, then somebody else files the trademark for it because it leaked out of my company, or I have a disgruntled former employee, or, you know, insert scenario here for why somebody would do this. But if somebody gets wind of this thing that I'm working on with my company and they file the trademark, then in order for me to do this thing, I have to pay them for the trademark, even though I thought up the original IP, right? So a lot of times, big companies, and 343 Industries is a subsidiary of Microsoft, which is one of the 3 biggest companies in the entire history of the world. They're probably just kind of taking the shotgun approach with this trademark in a similar vein for why they would for why companies trademark things that they don't ever use. You'll often see big companies just trademark stuff in case someday they might do a thing. So that is another potential reason why this trademark was filed at all. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think that Halo the Endless will be something. He is dead set on this something being a brand new game because, and he kind of, that's right here.
Public record, because it has all this stuff, at this point to me, it's more likely that whatever the Halo Endless is, it has a multiplayer component and they're going to use it in competitions. So if they're using Halo Endless for esports and HCS is a big...
All right, so now his argument is that in this vocabulary, again, in this vocabulary, it says that there is going to be a multiplayer component to Halo the Endless. And again, yes, 100%, that's probably likely in respect to the fact that it is connected to Halo Infinite. So they have to have that vocabulary in there just to cover their bases. We won't know until it officially gets announced. And also, potentially, the Endless could just be, there's possibly another thing that they're going to trademark 6 months from now. I think it's wise, and then here's where he's talking about, let's get to that. So Joe Staten, one of the producers on here, he did an interview relatively recently kind of talking about things going on behind the scenes at 343. And this is what Sean had to say for the breakdown for that, and we'll get into Sean's breakdown.
I want to talk about is that Joe Staten in this interview, I went over this, but I got to bring it back up again. This was only done in August, okay? In this interview, Joe Staten, in my opinion, we're going to play it and you can listen to what he said. In my opinion, interpreting what he said, it seems like he hinted.
All right, skip.
On.
We've got other great creative folks looking after the franchise side of things, Kiki, Wolfkill, and Frank O'Connor, and everybody on the franchise side. So my head of creative role is really focused on the gameplay, the interactive part of the stuff that we do. But that means that I'm looking after not only campaign experiences.
Campaign experiences. He's looking after campaign experiences.
But also our free-to-play multiplayer experiences as well.
Free-to-play multiplayer experience. There's a reason why I'm pausing and repeating this.
Stuff that we've got, up and running today the players can play, and of course stuff that we're working on behind the scenes, the next evolution in multiplayer and campaign as well. So
the next evolution in multiplayer and campaign as well. Now, it's tricky what he said here, but listen.
It's really not, though.
Experiences as well. The stuff that we've got, up and running today the players can play.
The stuff we've got up and running today. So,
all right, so we're going to stop it there. So what is Joseph Staten saying? He's saying that that he's in charge of campaign and multiplayer, right? So if the Endless is, and also I think the point I wanted to make with this is the Endless is probably a major Halo Infinite event is what I think is going to happen. So, they will launch the Endless. It will be an addition to campaign. It will also open up multiplayer in such a way that is to hopefully a point where it probably should have been at launch, but that's very likely because Sean also broke the timeline for each season, what we are to expect for multiplayer for each season up through I believe season 6. And part of those seasons, part of those launches, that we're getting new weapons, we're getting new vehicles, we're getting new maps, we're getting all of this stuff. So very potentially the Endless is going to be the impetus for some of that, if not all of that stuff, and also something to round out the campaign experience in such a way that Joseph Staten is talking about. I don't think that it is unreasonable to think that Staten is exclusively talking about Halo Infinite and things that are directly related to Halo Infinite in this interview. Nothing about this interview says very explicitly anything beyond that. And I haven't watched this actual interview with Staten. It is an hour and a half long, so we won't be talking about it here in this video, but very potentially we'll be touching on this again on Wednesday's episode. But we went back a little bit because I want to also make a comment on what Sean's about to comment on here, because he's analyzing the way Staten is talking in a way that I don't think it's consciously deceptive. I think he's looking for something, and so he has confirmation bias when it comes to what Staten says. So let's go back to what Staten is saying. Oh, oops, that's the wrong button. That one.
Up and running today, the players can play
The stuff we've got up and running today. So
no, that's not what was said.
multiplayer and campaign as well. So
the next evolution in multiplayer and campaign as well. Now, it's tricky what he said here, but listen.
play multiplayer experiences as well. The stuff that we've got, up and running today, the players can play.
The stuff we've got
up and running today, the players can play. He's putting those two. One of them was the end of a statement. The next was the beginning of a statement. There is a period there. It's not one sentence. So I think that is a thing that he's being dishonest with himself about, because he's not listening to what Staten is actually saying.
Up and running today. So Halo Infinite free-to-play multiplayer right now.
And of course, stuff that we're working on behind the scenes.
So he says stuff that the players can play today and stuff that we're working on behind the scenes. No, stuff that players can play. We're going back.
Today, the players can play.
The stuff we've got up and running today. So Halo Infinite free-to-play multiplayer right now.
And of course, stuff that we're working on behind the scenes.
Stuff we're working on behind the scenes. So more stuff coming.
Just the vocal inflection says that that's not what he's saying to me. And multiplayer free-to-play, we already know that Halo Infinite's multiplayer is a free-to-play model. So again, there's nothing new here.
Campaign as well. So
next evolution of multiplayer and campaign is my ear.
The next evolution in multiplayer and campaign as well. So
here you have Joe Staten said they're working on. It sounds like.
All right, and then the other big point that he touches on in this is something Staten said earlier in the development of Halo, and that is that they had to scale things back. So we didn't end up cutting. So Staten said in this interview with Forbes, or said in something that Forbes is quoting, rather, Tech Radar, I think. The team went through a lot of iterations on scope and biome variety before I joined. Even after I joined, we had to make choices about where to scale back. We didn't end up cutting that much ultimately from the open world, but I know from the original designs there was a pretty significant scaling back of what the team had hoped at one point that they could deliver on. So we know from more recent interviews with Staten that what he's specifically talking about here is not slip space engine specifically, because that's the inference that Sean W is making in his video, is that the reason he thinks the Endless is something else, is a new game that is going to be built in Unreal Engine, which makes sense. Like, I do think the next actual game will be built in Unreal Engine. So I totally agree with that point of it. I just don't think that's the Endless, because what Staten has said, the reason they had to scale things back was because they were trying to do a multi-platform launch. So in order for it to fit on the Xbox One hardware, they had to scale things back so the Xbox One could handle it. So in order for it to go out on Xbox One, Xbox Series, and on the PC, they had to scale things back so that Xbox One could handle everything the same, or similarly anyway, as to what the Series consoles could do, because those are significantly more powerful. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on that real quick, because I mean it's that the reason why he made the video is so that we could have that conversation, right? So, oops. I'm screwing with my mouse over here.
Once again, live shows happen roughly every Friday. You can join me Friday nights, youtube.com/generally nerdy. I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, do the thing, subscribe, like, all of that jazz. Thank you very much. Before we head out, always remember that if it's generally nerdy, it's probably here.